Ready?
Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Big Bite Baits. Brown, you doing all right today? I've got Brown with me as always.
Yeah, man, we're doing good. We're doing good.
Well, good. We're going to talk about things today. I'll spend a few minutes talking about an old school way to fish, I call it, but it's still a very effective way, and I'll get to that in just a second. But before I do, let me show you one of our new shirts we've got out. We call this the Splash shirt. It's got camos. Well, actually, it's got the splash sleeves. It's got the big bite fish splashing out of the chest of it, and it's made out of a performance wear. It's very comfortable. These are already on the web page, so you can go there and find it. It comes up to, I think, the 4X, so it comes in big sizes. But anyway, definitely check out the Splash shirt if you hadn't. We'd love to sell you one. Okay, so today I thought we might just spend a few minutes and talk about Carolina rig fishing. Something that's kind of an old approach, but still a very effective approach. And I know on a lot of lakes, Carolina rigging is as effective as it is on some. So, to whatever fits your poison. But your typical Carolina rig is basically a line with a and now what I've done on this, there's several ways to rig it. But this particular Carolina rig I have here has a lead, has the bead, has a clacker, and it has a Carolina rigger, which is a little plastic piece you mash with your pliers and put on your line. It slides up and down. You can adjust your depth of your leader by pulling it and taking the pliers and mashing the opening in it. I don't particularly like doing my Carolina rig this way, but that's one way to do it. And then, of course, you got a wide gap hook on it. And on this particular Carolina rig, I've got a trick stick right now, which I'll talk about that in just a second. So if I did it the other way, the way I like to fish a Carolina rig, I'm gonna let you put some input on this too, Brandon. Sure. But I would use obviously a big lead. I like either a 3/4 or a 1 ounce piece of lead. I like to put a bead. Then I like to put a swivel, a crane swivel, or either a ball bearing swivel. Either one, it doesn't matter. And then I like to put another bead on. Have double beads, one above the lead and one below the lead. That kind of keeps it from getting hung up. But you don't have to do that. You can just put the lead on there plain. And then, of course, obviously after the swivel, you tie your leader, put whatever particular type of hook you like to use. I like a wide gap hook, and that's how I make my Carolina rig. I usually do the leader. If I got 17 on my reel, I do my leader in 14. That way, hopefully, if I hang up, the leader will break, and all I lose is the leader and the hook and a piece of bait. I don't lose the lead and all that stuff.
Sure.
So how do you talk a little bit about what you think about that?
Well, I mean, fairly similar. I use either a half or a 3/4 on the lead.
Yeah, okay.
I usually use like a barrel style lead instead of a bullet.
Yeah.
I just do one glass bead and then a crane swivel.
And then your leader.
And then leader, yeah.
Do you use alternate size line or do you do the same?
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm just in like really heavy cover or something.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm going 15 on the main line to like a 12-pound lead.
Something that will break easy if you get hung up. But I have found over the years, if you put a bead above the top of that, if you're using a bullet lead like I'm using, then it'll help it jump over stuff and it won't hang up quite as bad. So that's just some ideas on how to do a Carolina rig. I'm sure you guys out there got your way you like to do it, or you may have another idea, which is good too. You can share that with us, by the way, in the comment section if you'd like to. We'd love to hear it. But, do you use a wide gap hook or do you like the old J-style hook on yours?
I use a J, like offset.
Yeah, the offset J-style hook. So you can do either one, and they're both good. You can use the little Carolina keeper if you want to. It doesn't matter. The reason I don't like the clacker, I'll be honest with you, why I don't like the clacker there is I think a lot of times the fish will bite the lead. And then you set the hook and you got teeth on your lead, you can see the teeth on it, and he's gone when that happens. So that's why I don't like to use the clacker. So so that's another thought process with it.
I'd probably do double beads before I do the clacker.
Yeah, so just to think about it. Well, anyway, that kind of sums up. So let's talk about some baits you might want to run on this. So what I tried to do today is categorize what I thought was two styles of baits that you could use on your Carolina rig. So some people like to pull a Carolina rig and they don't want it to be real heavy and hard to pull, and so they would use a smaller downsized type bait and hopefully get bites that way. Plus when the heat's on and the fish have been pressured, sometimes they like a smaller bait anyway. So you could use a trick stick, for example, what I have on this rig. This is a real effective bait to use on a Carolina rig. It works really well. Or you could go to like our 6-inch finesse worm. This is what I like to use, especially when the fish has been pressured and it's tough, Or you could go to a smaller creature type bait. And what I have here is just what we call a creature bait, and it works as well. So that would be the way I would kind of finesse rig down, and give them a smaller approach. But then if you want to get all macho and you want to get beefed up, there's a couple ways you can beef up. And one of the ways would be with a 10 B2. And just your typical B2 worm. It won't be quite as hard to drag as the next one I'm fixing to show you. Now, if you really want to get fired up and get on steroids, you can go to the 10 K-tail worm, and it's got a big flat ribbon tail on it that pulls a lot of water. But now it's going to feel heavy when you drag it, okay? But it's also another effective way to do it. And a lizard's another good bait you can use on a Carolina rig, but I tend to use that more in the spring of the year. You can do the 6-inch or the 8-inch lizard. But that's just some of the ideas I had for you, on summer type fishing with the Carolina rig. But it's definitely a good approach to use, especially like if your fish are getting pressured, or if you want to slow way down and try to slow down and work in your bait. This will tend to slow you down some. So some things I would kind of recommend to everybody. Okay, teaser for the week. All right, iCast coming up. Well, today I pulled out our new swim bait, the B6. It's the big brother to the B5. Inline Swimmer. It's a 6-inch model, good looking color. I believe they call this light shad. I believe that's what I told you. So it's kind of a neat color, but that's the new bait. Of course, it's a line through. Your line goes in here, it comes out here. You just tie a treble hook on it, and you're ready to roll. Definitely something you can use any type of swim bait situation. But that is the new B6 Inline Swimmer that we have coming out at iCast. You got something you want to add to that?
Yeah, and that treble hook is going to come with the bait.
Yeah, it does. It comes in 3 colors. Well, actually, it comes in...
It'll be 8 colors.
8 colors, but we have 3 new colors in it, which, they'll be interesting to see. This is one of the 3 new colors, by the way, that I've got here. So, something that you might want to look at if you're a swim bait guy. This thing's pretty nice. I think, to me, I like it better to do the B5. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's going to have more action, but we catch more fish. But anyway,
good
something to think about. All right, questions for today. I know you got a whole list of them. I didn't look across at your pad, and I was like, oh, gosh. So let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, not too bad. Let's see. Lazarus was asking, what pound test line do you use for a jerk minnow?
I think that's kind of up to depend on which kind of jerk minnow you're going to use now. If you're using one like in the spring in shallow water, I'd use a heavy line. I mean, it's not going to. But if you're out deep in the summer, I'd probably use a lighter top line. If you're using a 5-inch jerk minnow, that's a lot bigger than say a 3.75-inch jerk minnow, which you would drop shot or whatever. In that case, you'd use a lighter line. But I think like in the spring, if you're fishing it and you're floating a jerk minnow or fishing a jerk minnow, you probably would want to use a heavier top line.
Probably like a 17.
17, I would think, is something like that. That's just, I don't do that whole lot, but that's kind of what I would think.
Okay. Let's see. And then ETN was asking, what is your favorite big fish bait?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it has to do with maybe not the bait and where you're throwing the bait, okay? I've caught big fish on fighting frogs. I do believe this, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. I think sometimes bigger baits catch bigger fish. If you throw a lot of finesse stuff, you're not going to catch a lot of 5-6 pound fish. So like in the spring, I normally go to like a 5-inch fighting frog, a big bulky one, because I want bigger bites. Or a lot of times a jig with a crawl trailer will seem to catch a bigger fish than say maybe a B2 worm, for example. Yeah. So something to think about. So I think it has to do with that kind of deal.
I agree. And what the fish are eating.
And what the fish are eating, yeah, I agree.
All right, let's see. Purvis Outdoors asked, what size hook would you put in a BFE?
4/0 or a 5/0.
It depends on which style hook.
Stitch with style hook you like to use. You can use a flipping type hook, with a flipping stop on it, or you could use like a wide gap hook on it. I think it depends on what type of tactic you're going to use. I think that if I'm not mistaken, Bradley, who invented the bait, uses a flipping style hook with it, and he uses a big hook.
And like a 5/0.
I think like a 5/0, yes.
Okay. And let's see, this question you can probably elaborate on sensation a little bit.
Yeah,
Blanc was asking about new baits that are coming out soon.
Well, there's going to be I think 7 shapes of sensation bait. Of the 7 shapes, there'll be 1 repeat shape. We've moved the Smalley Smasher over to, and now we call it the Sensation Smasher. And then the other 6 baits are new flavors of baits. So we'll tell you more about. I've already shown a couple on here. I showed the ram tail, and I've showed
Quarantine crawl.
the quarantine crawl. And there's a Somali, and there's a thin worm,
Slim
stick, and then there's the slim minnow. So there's some different things, We'll try to continue to tease a little bit between now and ICAST.
Yeah, and when ICAST gets here, we'll be able to show some more things up close.
Right, we're going to have a show on Sensation when we get back, obviously. And we're going to be doing live feeds from ICAST every day.
That's right.
At least twice a day, so you'll be able to see those as well.
Absolutely. Let's see. Jason P. Fisher was asking, any advice for cold, clear water bass?
Yeah, I think you can, in the cold weather, I like to use some kind of bait that moves, flashing, but I think that they catch if you're down shot or that type of stuff with your live scope, you can maybe take a pinlet head and use it and put some type of jig type representation or like some type of dead fish. It's kind of like a drop shot. Catch some fish that way. That's something I don't do a whole lot of because we deer hunt here in the winter. We don't do a lot of fishing, so as a result, and our water never gets that crystal clear.
Yeah, I know for us, when it's like that, I like to vertical fish.
Yeah, a jig and spoon. I know, that's what a lot of people are going to pull out. Of course, obviously, we don't make a jig and spoon, but that works good now. I ain't going to say it doesn't.
Well, with live scope, some type of a jig head.
Pinlet head, maybe with a thin minnow on it or something along those lines, I think will work pretty good.
Sure. And I think we'll end with this one. Let's see. Corey was asking, where did Big Bite Baits get its name?
From the owners of the company. They came up with the name and the logo, the little fish that's so popular. Everybody knows that's kind of how you recognize our brand is by that fish with those teeth. And that was just something our owner came up with, and basically, that's where they went with it, and that's how it was originated.
Always heard guys wanting to get a big bite.
Yeah, I always want to get a big bite, so definitely.
So
anyway, we won't be on next week because we're going to be off for the 4th of July, and then we'll see y'all the week after next, getting ready, geared up for ICAST. So until then, we'll see you here at Big Bite Baits.